The yard was quiet, but the air felt heavy. ASWAT team moved in fast, rifles ready, boots stomping across the neat green lawn. Their eyes were locked on one man. An old black man, standing calmly at the gate of a big, fancy house. He wasn't running. He wasn't yelling. He was just standing there, his fingers hovering over a keypad. His name was Thomas Reed, and he didn't look scared at all. One officer shouted, "Hands where we can see them." The other men aimed their weapons and moved in closer. Still, Thomas didn't move. He slowly turned around, his face calm, his deep eyes staring right at them. Not angry, not afraid, just steady. The team held their breath, waiting for him to say something. Then Thomas spoke 5 simple words. And those 5 words stopped every single officer in their tracks. No one moved. No one spoke. What had just happened? Why was this old man standing in front of ASWAT team in the first place? And how could 5 words bring a group of armed men to a full stop? The truth behind that moment was something no one could have expected. Thomas Reed was 72 years old, but he still showed up every day with a calm smile and a strong spirit. For over 10 years, he had worked as the gatekeeper at the fancy Willow Bend Estates, a neighborhood full of tall trees, shiny cars, and big houses. Most people saw him as just the man at the gate, but Thomas was much more than that. Before this job, he had spent his life fixing engines as a mechanic. He loved working with his hands. But in his free time, what he really loved was gardening. The front entrance of the estate was always filled with colorful flowers, neatly trimmed bushes, and soft green grass thanks to him. Residents trusted him. He knew every family's name, remembered their pets, and even waved to kids on their way to school. Thomas never asked for much. He just wanted peace and respect. But behind his quiet smile were years of facing unfair looks and judgment. Even in this nice neighborhood, he still saw the way some people stared just because of the color of his skin. Still, Thomas kept doing his job with pride. Every single day. That morning started like any other. Thomas was at the front gate, typing in the code for a resident who had forgotten theirs. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and the smell of fresh flowers filled the air. But then, everything changed in a second. A 911 call had gone out. Suspicious black man trying to break into a home. No name. No details. Just fear. And that fear brought the SWAT team. Thomas didn't hear sirens. What he heard first was the crunch of boots on the grass behind him. Then, red laser dots suddenly lit up his back. He froze. "Get on the ground." "Hands up," the officer shouted from behind. Thomas slowly turned his head. His heart was beating fast, but his voice stayed calm. "I work here," he said. But no one listened. The officers kept yelling. Their voices were loud and mixed up. Thomas held his hands in the air, his fingers shaking not because he was scared, but because he was tired. Tired of being treated like a threat. Tired of being seen as something he wasn't. He remembered his grandson telling him, "Grandpa, you should quit. It's not worth it." Maybe he was right. But today, Thomas wasn't going to run. He stood tall, even with rifles pointed at him. Just when it felt like things couldn't get worse, Thomas heard someone screaming from a distance. A woman's voice broke through the chaos. "That's Mr. Reed. He's the security guard." It was one of the homeowners, running toward the gate in a panic. Her face was pale with fear, not of Thomas, but of what the officers might do to him. But the SWAT team didn't lower their weapons. The leader of the team stepped forward, still gripping his rifle tight. "We got a report," he started to say. Thomas raised one hand slowly, not in defense, but to stop him from saying anything else. Then he spoke the 5 words that no one expected. "I forgive you. Now go." The words hung in the air. Everyone froze. The officers looked at each other, confused and uneasy. Their weapons slowly dropped, and silence took over. One young officer stepped forward, eyes wide and voice soft. "Sir, we were just doing our jobs." Thomas looked straight at him. "I know. But was it your job to shame me first?" No one answered. They couldn't. The truth in his words hit harder than any punishment ever could. He had every right to be angry, but instead, he chose strength through calm. The SWAT team slowly backed away. Their boots crunched on the gravel as they lowered their weapons and walked off the property. But even as they left, the shame stayed behind. It was written all over their faces. The homeowner ran to Thomas. Left, the shame stayed behind. It was written all over their faces. The homeowner ran to Thomas, tears in her eyes. "Mr. Reed, I'm so sorry," she said over and over again. Thomas gave her a small, tired smile and simply nodded. He didn't yell. He didn't demand anything. He had been through worse. This wasn't new. To him, it was just another Tuesday. Later that day, news of what happened spread quickly. Some people called Thomas a hero. Others said he should have sued or gone to the media. But Thomas didn't care about all that. He wasn't looking for attention. He just wanted peace. That evening, Thomas sat on his porch with a glass of sweet tea in his hand. His grandson, Marcus, sat beside him, still thinking about what happened. "Granddad," Marcus asked quietly, "why did you forgive them?" "They were ready to hurt you." Thomas looked at him with kind eyes and answered, "Because holding on to hate is heavier than these old bones can carry." Marcus didn't say anything, but he understood something important in that moment. Real strength doesn't always come from yelling or fighting back. Sometimes it comes from staying calm, standing tall, and saying the right words at the right time. And Thomas's words had stopped a storm before it could destroy everything. That night, while the world kept talking about what happened, Thomas stayed quiet. He sat in his favorite chair on the porch, the night breeze soft against his face. He didn't need the internet or the news to tell him what was right. He already knew. Inside the house, his grandson Marcus was still thinking. He looked out the window at his granddad, trying to understand how someone could be so calm after something so hurtful. Marcus walked outside and sat down next to him. "Granddad," he said again, "you really forgave them?" Just like that? Thomas sipped his sweet tea, then looked up at the stars. "Forgiveness isn't easy," he said, "but it's lighter to carry than hate." Marcus leaned back and looked at the sky too. He didn't fully get it yet, but he was trying. He realized that his granddad was strong not because of muscles or anger, but because of his heart. Many people online called Thomas a legend. Some even said he was too kind. But Thomas didn't care about being famous. What mattered most to him was teaching Marcus how to live with honor, even when the world was unfair. As the night grew quiet, Marcus reached over and held his granddad's hand. He didn't have to say anything else. He understood now. Real power isn't about fighting. Sometimes it's about knowing when not to. And Thomas Reed had shown the world exactly that. If this story meant something to you, take a second to share it. Thomas Reed's quiet strength is something the world needs more of. He didn't fight with fists. He didn't scream or demand anything. He just stood his ground with dignity, with peace, and with words that stopped everything. Drop ARESPECT in the comments if you felt his power. And don't forget to like this video to help others see what true strength really looks like. Let the world remember Thomas Reed. Thomas Reed's story isn't just about what happened that day. It's about how we all handle tough moments. When things go wrong, we can choose to fight back with anger, or we can find strength in being calm and kind. Thomas showed us that the power of forgiveness is stronger than any weapon. His message? Stay calm in the face of fear and stand tall with dignity. You don't need to shout or lash out to make a difference. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is speak the truth with a peaceful heart.